Hello, everyone, and welcome to our workshop on setting and enforcing boundaries in your life. The reason we have these workshops is to work on the underlying issues behind alcoholism. If alcohol was the problem, most of us would be cured by now. Alcohol was but a symptom. Let's start with a moment of silence to reflect on why we are here, followed by the serenity prayer. God, bring me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, the wisdom to know the difference. We're happy to have you here making this investment in your sobriety. You're making a huge deposit into your IRA, your individual recovery account. By being here and participating, you're making these deposits no matter how small, because one day you may have a situation that will require you to make a huge withdrawal, and you don't want your IRA to be depleted. Right now, you could be watching ESPN and waiting for the games to begin. You could be out shopping. You could be binge watching on Netflix. Instead, you are here with us making a nice deposit into your IRA. So we'll be using both AA conference approved literature and non-AA conference approved literature in this workshop. But remember, just because something is not AA conference approved does not mean it is disapproved by AA. The Bible, as you know, is not conference approved. Not many people know that the chips and medallions are not conference approved. The newspaper is not conference approved. So do yourself a favor and don't put restrictions on your sobriety. Conference approved only means that it is printed and distributed by World Services, by Alcoholics Anonymous. So oftentimes, the ties that bind us are more mental than physical. And here's an example. In India, one method of training elephants was to tie a baby elephant to a tree with a thick, heavy chain, thereby severely restricting its movement and almost immobilizing it. After a long time of this treatment, all an elephant handler had to do was tie a rope around the elephant and put a stake in the ground to keep the elephant in place. The elephant was so conditioned to thinking that it was unable to move that some of them have been found dead in place after a fire, when all the elephant had to do was try to move and it would have escaped the fire, but it thought it was still chained to a tree. And by taking the 12 steps, you'll be freeing yourself from what's keeping you from being happily and usefully whole. And this is from the 12 and 12, page 15. AA's 12 steps are a group of principles, spiritual in their nature, which, if practiced as a way of life, can expel the obsession to drink and enable the sufferer to become happily and usefully whole. You will also be breaking the ties that bind you and keep you from staying sober and growing. So it is very easy to stop drinking. It is easy as pie. Everyone in here has stopped drinking at some point, even before coming into AA. Even if it's for 1 hour or one day, everyone has stopped drinking. The problem is staying stopped, and that's where AA comes in. Alcoholics Anonymous is about helping us to stay stopped for the rest of our lives, one day at a time. So how do we stay stopped? The answer is in the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. There may still come a time when you will have the obsession to drink, but if you have invested enough into your IRA, your higher power will help you deal with that obsession and not drink no matter what. And remember that IRA is your individual recovery account. For starters, I have some good news and some bad news for you. The good news is that you're going to be happier with yourself, and your emotional sobriety will be better for having attended this mini workshop and applying some of what you will learn today. The bad news is that a few people in your life will not like the new you. They will prefer the person who was a pushover while drinking and sometimes still a pushover even after getting sober and coming into AA. So what does it mean to have boundaries? Can you check the waiting room, please? What does it mean to have boundaries? And this is from Wikipedia. Personal boundaries are guidelines, rules, or limits that a person creates to identify reasonable, safe, and permissible ways for other people to behave towards them and how they will respond when someone passes those limits. Boundaries can be physical or emotional, and they can range from being loose to rigid, with healthy boundaries often falling somewhere in between. Setting boundaries is an important part of establishing one's identity and is a crucial aspect of mental health and well-being. Having healthy boundaries means knowing and understanding what your limits are. Having boundaries allows you to make yourself a priority, whether that's in self-care, career aspirations, or within relationships. Here's another issue that we have to address up front. Sometimes there will be conflict in the enforcement of your boundaries. Not all conflict has to result in a physical confrontation, but sometimes you have to be willing to engage if you are to enforce your boundaries. Most of you here are familiar with the fight or flight response. Fight or flight response is a response to an acute threat to survival that is marked by physical changes, including nervous and endocrine changes that prepare a human or an animal to react or to retreat. The functions of this response were first described in the early 1900s by American neurologist and physiologist Walter Bradford Cannon. All right, now back to boundaries. It's not really about setting boundaries. It's not really about setting boundaries, since the boundaries we're discussing today are not physical, then everyone in this workshop has the same boundaries. Everyone has the same boundaries. When people speak of setting boundaries, it reminds me of cities or states that make new laws instead of enforcing the ones already on the books. We all have the same personal boundaries, but it's a matter of who we enforce what with and to what degree. So this is from a Google search. 6 benefits of setting clear boundaries. 1, you become more in tune with yourself. 2, you learn to respect other people's boundaries. 3, setting boundaries leads to better relationships. 4, it's easier to focus on the positives. 5, communicating openly becomes second nature. 6, you learn to put yourself first. And again, if somebody you put into their moment, you can post your link for them to read along with us. We have several co-hosts in here. Please monitor the waiting room. In thinking about the enforcement of personal boundaries, I find that trust plays a big part in it. And trust is a matter of degrees. Let's look at some scenarios. The first is 2 business partners. One partner trusts the other implicitly when it comes to money, but will not trust her to be alone with her spouse. In another scenario, we have 2 friends where one has let the other sleep over her house before, but will not trust them with money. How about another scenario where one friend trusts the other completely when it comes to both money and the spouse, but has to tell her friend that the appointment is at 2 p.m. if she wants her there by 2:30. I'm sure you have a friend, relative, or coworker like that. So again, trust is a matter of degrees. There are people you will want to keep at arm's length in all areas of your life. Arm's length being that they are in your life for some reason or another, but you can't share much with them at all. You basically watch your back and watch what you say around them. In some cultures, personal space is different. In America, we don't like people violating our personal physical space. In some other countries, you have very little personal physical space. Even enforcing boundaries is an important part of establishing one's identity and is a crucial aspect of mental health and well-being. Boundaries are essential to healthy relationships and really a healthy life. Setting and sustaining boundaries is a skill. Unfortunately, it's a skill that many people don't learn. We might pick up pointers here and there from experience or through watching others, but for many folks, boundary building is a relatively new concept and a challenging one. One thing you want to do is be assertive. Of course, we know that it's not enough to create boundaries. We have to follow through. Even though we know intellectually that people aren't mind readers, we sometimes still expect others to know what hurts us. Since they don't, it's important to assertively communicate with the other person when they've crossed a boundary. In a respectful way, let the other person know what in particular is bothersome to you and that you can work together to address it. We have some people in the waiting room, please. And here's something we use in AA. Does it need to be said? Does it need to be said right now? Does it need to be said by me? You can't always worry about hurting someone's feelings. Some people will take your kindness for weakness. The one thing I caution is not to become a bully. Be careful not to go from being passive or bullied to becoming the one doing the bullying. So there's a link in the chat for you to read along with us, for those who just came in. And like any new skill, assertively communicating your boundaries takes practice. Start with a small boundary that isn't threatening to you, and then incrementally increase the more challenging boundaries. Build upon your successes and try not to take on something that feels overwhelming. Setting boundaries takes courage, practice, and support. You can get support from your sponsor or support group. Assertiveness is a skill you can master. It'll be very uncomfortable at first, but when you start seeing results, you will become more confident. And here's some things that you're probably familiar with. No is a complete sentence. And to be assertive, you want to watch your body language. You want to watch your facial expressions. You want to watch your tone of voice. And you want to watch your choice of words. If you're serious, you don't want to have a smile on your face. You don't want to appear weak. Say what you mean and mean what you say. You don't have to say it mean, but sometimes you do. You just can't worry about the other person's feelings sometimes. And this is something I love. Tact is telling someone to go to hell and making them look forward to the trip. And when you're assertive, you don't have to get mad. You don't have to raise your voice. You don't have to cuss. As a matter of fact, people will pay more attention to you if you lower your voice an octave in a conversation. And me personally, I consider it an infringement on my personal space when someone yells at me or even speaks loudly. I don't like people who speak loudly. There are just some loud people in this world. What you want to do is become a person with presence. And Here's the way I equate presence. Let's say you're at a smaller gathering, about 15 people or so, maybe a work gathering, and you're talking to a group of maybe three people, and then you hear someone, oh, it's George. You always hear George, so you hear him even before you see him, even before you walk through the door, you're hearing him. So you may turn for a second and then turn back to your conversation. Well, that's who George is, just a loud person. And then maybe 10 minutes later, then you're with the same group of maybe three people, or maybe with a different group. But all of a sudden, there's a little silence in the room. There's a bit of a silence, a lull in the conversation, and you see people looking at the door or towards the door. You didn't hear anything. You didn't hear anyone come in, but all of a sudden you see Jane. You see Jane. You don't hear her. You see her, and you feel her presence. See, that's presence. You don't have to be loud to have a presence. You just want to have that confidence. And it's also best to have a win-win situation. But there are people who cannot accept that and will always want to win. In that case, you have to try to be the winner. You have to try to be the winner. And don't stuff your feelings. I used to walk away from many interactions with a big knot in my stomach, feeling like, I should have said this, I should have said that, I should have done this, should have done that. Don't stuff your feelings. And then some boundaries can be non-negotiable or a deal breaker. Set your boundaries. Not all of them have to be like this, but some of them are. All right. In a few minutes, we're going to open it up for a little discussion. We should be finished by 11 o'clock. All right. So 6 types of boundaries you deserve to have and how to maintain them. And I got this from an online article from July of 2019. Many people have the wrong idea about boundaries. They believe that they already have good boundaries, when in reality they have brick walls, or they believe that boundaries are unkind. Healthy boundaries are the ultimate guide to successful relationships. Without healthy boundaries, relationships do not thrive. They result in feelings of resentment, disappointment, or violation. These feelings, unchecked, can lead to being cut off from others or enmeshment uh, where there's no clear division between you and the other's needs and feelings. Neither of these situations is ideal. Because so few of us understand what boundaries actually are, we rarely see evidence of them working. But when they do, you feel it. It does wonders for your mental and relational health. So here, this is what healthy boundaries look like. Boundaries are what happen when you can sense yourself and what you need and want and access your voice to speak to those things. We all have limits, and we all experience violations of our limits. Everybody. Most of the time, people are not trying to violate our limits. They just aren't aware of what they are. Sometimes this is because we're not clear with ourselves or other people about what we want or need. And here are 6 boundaries you deserve to have and what they might look like in practice. The first one is physical boundaries. Physical boundaries include your needs for personal space your comfort with touch, and your physical needs like needing to rest, eat food, and drink water. It is okay to let people know you don't want to be touched or that you need more space. It is also okay to say that you are hungry or that you need to rest. And healthy physical boundaries might sound like this. I'm really tired. I need to sit down now. I am not a big hugger. I am a handshake person. I need to eat. I am going to grab something. I am allergic to whatever it is, so we can't have that in our home. No, I don't want you to touch me like that. Don't go into my room without asking first. In AA, especially this time of year, the holidays, no, I don't drink. And again, don't say these things with a smile on your face, with a chuckle or a laugh. No, be deadly serious. Be serious and watch your body language, watch your tone of voice. You don't want to sound wishy-washy. You want to, and you can even practice saying these. You can write them down and you can practice saying them. No, thank you. I don't drink. No. Physical boundary violations feel like receiving inappropriate or unwanted touch, being denied your physical needs, told to keep walking when you are tired, or that you need to wait to eat or drink, or having someone come into your personal space in a way that is uncomfortable, such as entering your room without permission, for example. This can vary on a spectrum from mild to severe. The most severe violations result in serious physical abuse or neglect. Okay, so that was physical boundaries rather. Now for emotional boundaries. Emotional boundaries are all about respecting and honoring feelings and energy. Setting emotional boundaries means recognizing how much emotional energy you are capable of taking and knowing when to share and when not to share, and limiting emotional sharing with people who respond poorly. Respecting emotional boundaries means validating the feelings of others and making sure you respect their ability to take in emotional information. It might sound like when I share my feelings with you and get criticized, it makes me totally shut down. I can only share with you if you're able to respond respectfully to me. Or, I am so sorry you're having a tough time. Right now, I am not in a place to take in all of this information. You think we can come back to this conversation later? Here's another one. I am having a hard time and really need to talk. Are you in a place to listen right now? I think that's when you can use with your sponsor or a support group. I'm having a hard time and really need to talk. Are you in a place to listen right now? I really can't talk about that right now. It isn't the right time. And again, if you know you're going to be dealing with a toxic person in your life, you can write this stuff down. You can practice it. Again, practice in front of a mirror. Watch your body language. Listen to your tone of voice. Watch your tone of voice. Watch your facial expressions. You can practice this stuff. Time boundaries. Your time is valuable, and it is important to protect how it is utilized. Setting time boundaries is incredibly important at work, home, and socially. Setting time boundaries means understanding your priorities and setting aside enough time for the many areas of your life without overcommitting. And that can include service work as well. You do not want to overcommit for even service work on Zoom or in person or anywhere. When you understand your priorities, it is much easier to limit the amount of time you are giving to other people. Healthy time boundaries might sound like this. I can't come to that event this weekend. I can only stay for an hour. Do you have time to chat today? I would love to help you, but I would be overcommitting myself. Is there another time? Waiting room, please. We have family time on Sundays, so we won't make it. I am happy to help with that. My hourly rate is so. Even if this is something you do professionally, don't be afraid to charge, and do not be afraid to charge. Violated time boundaries look like asking professionals for their time without paying them, demanding time from people, keeping people in conversations or on tasks far longer than we told them we would, showing up late or canceling on people because we overcommitted, and contacting people when they said they would be unavailable. Sexual boundaries. Healthy sexual boundaries include consent, agreement, respect, understanding of preferences and desires, and privacy. Healthy sexual boundaries include asking for consent, discussing and asking for what pleases you, requesting a condom use if you want it, discussing contraception, saying no to things that you do not like or that hurt you, protecting the privacy of the other person. And intellectual boundaries. Intellectual boundaries refer to your thoughts, ideas, and curiosity. Healthy intellectual boundaries include respect for the ideas of other people, and they can be violated when your thoughts and curiosity are shut down, dismissed, or belittled. Respectfulness and willingness to dialogue and understand are important here. Healthy intellectual boundaries also mean considering whether or not it is a good time to talk about something. They might sound like, I know we disagree, but I won't let you belittle me like that. I would love to talk to you about this more, but I think talking about it during Thanksgiving dinner is the best time. But I do not think talking about it during Thanksgiving dinner is the best time. When we talk about this, we don't get very far. I think it is a good idea to avoid the conversation right now. I can respect that we have different opinions on this. And I guess one that I would add to that is let's agree to disagree. Let's agree to disagree. You can disagree without being disagreeable. I mean, that's the best thing is to disagree without being disagreeable. Right. So does this mean that you need to be accepting of all thoughts and opinions? Absolutely not. It is also important to learn to recognize the difference between healthy and unhealthy discourse. If someone is sharing an opinion that is inherently harmful, for example, racism, sexism, xenophobia, homophobia, etc., then you have every right to put a hard line in the sand. You can set the boundary in your own way. It might sound like letting the person know you do not tolerate that kind of talk. Distancing yourself from them. You do not have to have intellectual discourse with someone who is violating you or other people. Actually, they need to put in their gossiping. Gossiping, listening to gossip. Listening to gossip too. Or yeah, if you're inviting it, then pretty much these other people know they can come to you with their bullshit, with their gossip, then you're inviting it. But if you nip it in the bud the first time, that's not somebody else. Material boundaries. Material boundaries refer to items and possessions like a home, car, clothing, furniture, money, etc. It is
John,
healthy.
your signal's kind of coming in and out.
Thank you. Hopefully, we're almost done. Hopefully, it'll maintain. Material boundaries refer to items and possessions like your home, car, clothing, jewelry, furniture, money, etc. It's healthy to understand what you can and cannot share and how you expect your items and materials to be treated by the people you share them with. Having limits on how your material items are treated is healthy and prevents resentment over time. This might sound like canceling my car. I'm the only person on the insurance. We can't give any more money. We would be happy to help in another way. Sure, I am happy to share my dress with you. Just a heads up, I do need it back by Friday. Material boundaries are violated when your things are destroyed or stolen or when they are borrowed, quote unquote, too frequently. Another material violation is the use of the materials, money, and possessions to manipulate and control relationships. So the more we set boundaries, the more we recognize them. In setting boundaries, we help people show up for us, and we also become better at showing up for them. In conclusion, become a person who doesn't need, quote unquote, people, but you want to become a person who wants people in their life. And in a relationship, don't look for a 50-50 relationship. Go for a 100-100 relationship. Then think about it, 50-50. So I'm only giving 50% and the other person is only giving 50%. Well, that's not what you want. You want a 100-100 relationship. You know what to make it a priority. Remember, you got to put that oxygen mask on yourself first. And when it comes to boundaries, it's best to start off as a hard ass and then ease up, as opposed to starting off soft and then trying to toughen up. If you get nothing else out of this workshop, please remember this. It is best to start off as a hard ass and then ease up. If you try to do it the other way, it will not work. People, they'll get resentful if you, at you, ask you what your problem is. And don't draw your boundaries in permanent ink. It's good to think about them occasionally and reassess. When boundaries are too rigid or inflexible, problems can occur. And you don't want to draw the line in the sand too deep. You don't want to isolate yourself from everyone and avoid closeness altogether. And people are going to test you. They will try you to see how much they can get away with. You will have to pass the test every time. You want to be consistent. You will have to pass the test every time. And this will go with your kids too. The key to your success in imposing boundaries is to be consistent. Consistency is the key. You have to be consistent or it will not work. Now, you can't even let them get away with it once. If you let them get away with it once, then yeah, you want to be consistent. Waiting room, please. It will cause problems in the relationship with the other person or people if you're not consistent. Remember, we all have the same personal boundaries. So it's a matter of who we enforce what with and to what degree. And in the words of Brene Brown, clear is kind. And this is me personally. I read tons of books tons of books on assertiveness and psychotherapy. I got sober in 1982, and when I got sober in the 80s, transactional analysis was the psychotherapy du jour. And I read books like I'm Okay, You're Okay, When I Say No, I Feel Guilty, and Games People Play, among many, many other books. Many other books. I went to Toastmasters to learn public speaking. I didn't know how to engage in social intercourse. I didn't know how to engage in conversations with people, men or women. Until after I had a few drinks, then I was able to engage. So I read tons of books. And I'll say this again, if you have relapse, thank your higher power that you made it back to the rooms of AA, because not everyone makes it back. The door does not always swing both ways. If you have not yet relapsed, you don't have to in the future. Relapse is not a requirement for recovery. And it definitely is easier to stay sober than it is to get sober. AA is the easier, softer way, no matter what. And also remember, you don't fail until you stop trying. That's when you feel. You want to get out of your comfort zone until it becomes comfortable. And don't be afraid of faking it till you make it. Initially, it will be very uncomfortable as heck, but do it anyway. For me, my first 5 years, all I did was read tons of books. And everything I did my first 5 years was out of my comfort zone. It was very uncomfortable. But I had to do it. I knew I had to do it. All right, so this podcast will be on the website probably by this afternoon, but I'll say within 2 or 3 days, the podcast will be released. I'm sure it'll be up there by this afternoon. I'll put it in Telegram when it is on there. And I hope you'll join us on Telegram. Are you on Telegram with us, Jerry? Not the service group, but the other group. Oh, fantastic. All right, so let's end with the Lord's Prayer. But first, let's take a moment to reflect on what we did here today, followed by the Lord's Prayer. And then we'll have, questions and comments. So who helps us have the courage to be assertive and set boundaries? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. So now, please, do you have any questions? Do you have any experience? Do you have any anything on not only setting boundaries but enforcing boundaries? Are you finding? Yeah, just unmute yourself. Go ahead, Jerry.
Oh, thank you. Hi, I'm Jerry. I'm an alcoholic. I got a lot out of this. Thank you. And I made a lot of notes. And on the side, when almost every one of the 6 things resonated with something I remembered. And I have friends that had raised 6 children in homeschool, and their children are wonderful. They came out really well. And I remember when the first boy was born, and then the second child, a girl, came along. Tad had a hook way up high on his door to his room that only he could reach, and little Sonia couldn't. And that was how his parents allowed him to enforce his physical boundary. And they all have very healthy boundaries. And I suddenly realized the great wisdom they had to have. It wasn't just common sense. It was just teaching the child that he was allowed to close off his room, and it didn't create drama where the the other one could always get in, and there'd be fights and stuff. It was very simple. They gave him a tool to use that was a healthy boundary, and I'm really looking forward to getting out of my comfort zone. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Anyone else? If you have any questions, your experience, what do you think about this workshop? Go ahead, Caitlin. Did you learn anything from the workshop?
Hi, my name is Caitlin, alcoholic addict. Really grateful to be here. John, thank you so much for hosting this. I don't know about anybody else, but I ended up writing down a lot of stuff that really resonated, and definitely were certain things that I needed to hear today. I think the biggest thing that I loved is that reminder where you said, don't put boundaries in permanent ink. Now, I do understand in like some safety reasons, there are some that are permanent ink, like set in stone, right? Like we have those people in our life that we will never allow back in. But that reminder of being flexible with the people, with those relationships that we do want to build back up and have a better, healthy relationship with, and being flexible to see where their growth is, and also being able to say, okay, like we can work a little bit on this one. And so I really appreciate that reminder. Because if they're willing to do that much work, if they love you enough to do that much work to meet you at your boundaries, that also means that you should be able to meet them where they're at too. And sometimes that, I don't know about anyone else, that's a little difficult for me to see sometimes, because I'm like, is this really real? Are we going to see it? And I like how you brought that up later. You were like, they're going to test you, so if you need to go back, go back. But who knows? Sometimes, you have those people that really respond to them, and your relationship turns out so much better than what it would have been before. So thanks so much for this. That was awesome. I hope everyone has a great day.
The ones who don't respond to this, drop them like a bad habit. Get them out of your life. Go ahead, Nicole.
Yeah, I'm Nicole. I'm an alcoholic. John, this is a great workshop. It's excellent. I'm glad you recorded it. Everyone should listen to it. And it was perfect timing, as is always with you. Thank you very much. I had a incident on Friday evening, and then again last night with my ex, and trying to impose himself and his beliefs and other things on me, which I don't agree with, and because I'm sober and I'm having to I'm dealing with him differently now than I had in the past when I was an alcoholic and when I was using, and maybe he's not accustomed to the new me. He doesn't know the new me. So I have to remind myself too that I am a different person and I do handle things differently. But I like how, I think too, for me, handling things with a quiet voice, not saying so much, but just this, basically just laying it out. This is my boundaries. These are my thoughts. I know we may not agree on them. And then that's it. And then just walk away. And that works for me. It worked. And the first times that I've been using it, incredible. But I do find that the other person gets even more exasperated, more angry. Their anger raises, but I just walk away. And the only thing I could share was that, I want to be sober. That's my number one priority in my life. And you're not going to rock my world. Like that's it. This is, so, I think it's great. This is a really, really great, all of these resources are amazing. So I just wanted to thank you. And I have little stickies and I wanted to share this one. You made me think of this one. This fake it until you make it. Act as if you had all the confidence you require until it becomes your reality. I have one of those posted on my bulletin board. And then another one I just want to share really quick. And this is by Albert Einstein. If you can't explain it well enough, you don't know it well enough. And so for me, this is a reminder of how much I need to read and know before I can speak about something. Anyway, I just wanted to share that.
Actually, I start off many of our podcasts with that. If you can't explain simply you don't understand it well enough.
And that's by Albert Einstein. I think that's a great one. I got like so many on my bulletin board, but you always give me ones that thought provoke, and I usually have one there. So thanks, John. A great, great session. Great.
Anybody else? Have you tried to enforce boundaries and weren't able to in the past? You have any questions? You want me to expound on anything in the workshop?
Yeah, I'm Jerry. I just wanted to say I had a person that didn't seem to like me, and I never knew why. And I ran into her years later, and we were on a job together, and we seemed to get along fine until I overshared about my family, and it never occurred to me that I was violating her boundary of how much she wanted to know about, or that perhaps it was a sensitive subject to her. I just was like, oh, now I screwed up the relationship again. What the hell happened? And that was a resentment. So I have my own boundaries for my own self and my own oversharing. So boundaries work in both directions, I suppose.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you overshare sometimes, then you come off as being needy or, yeah. And you want to
Even if
know
you don't
who,
mean to. Yeah. False impression.
and you want to know who you can go to. There are people you can talk to for hours. There are people that, yeah, you can talk to briefly. And there are those people you can't talk to at all. It'll come with experience. You know? It comes with experience. Go ahead, Nicole.
Nicole, alcoholic. Jerry, I not to crosstalk or whatever, but I'm
This is an AA meeting.
Okay, good. I'm known for the same. I have a tendency. I'm just when I talk to someone, I just share, and I've learned the hard way. So now I'm very careful about who I share with and what I'm sharing. But my mom always says to me, "You're so naive, Nicole. You're so naive." And I'm just like, I don't know. I always think everyone's good. I always think everyone has a good heart. I don't think anyone's going to wrong me. I just, and I just speak openly, but I realize now I can't do that. And, at first when I learned this, I was like, I went to my mom. I'm 50. I still go to my mom. I'm like, Ma, why are people like this? Like, why they want to be so hurtful? But it's, it's setting boundaries. Like it's, and even for like ourselves, like we setting boundaries with other people, like, and not sharing as much. So yeah, I totally get you there. Just wanted to share that. See, I'm sharing again.
That's what makes our groups so good.
Yeah.
That's why we're here. That's why we thank John for bringing us together. It's a great opportunity.
Yes.
I'll let someone else share now. I'll share the share.
And that's all I did was bring us together. You guys make the group what it is. All I do, I'm just a conduit. If it was about me, we would have no workshops. We would have 5 people in the rooms, in the meetings. I'm a conduit. I bring us together, and you guys take it from there. The ones who get into service, I can't run all the meetings by myself. I can't do it by myself. I don't make it about myself either. Most people realize that. Any other questions? Angela, share with us, Angela. What do you think of the workshop, Angela? What do you think of our group? You don't want to share?
She's at an airport right now. She might not be able to.
Oh, okay, Kenya. Then it's on you.
Oh, there I go, sharing my big mouth. Hi, everybody. My name is Kenya, and I'm an alcoholic. I just have to go close my door real quick. That's a boundary. I am a people pleaser. Even when I was hurting myself, I will hurt myself trying to fix you, which is something that I'm trying to work on often. What I needed to learn in the beginning when I was setting my boundaries was not doing it in that mean way, John. Like, Nicole, I'm famous for saying my piece and walking away. Well, that's not necessarily for me a healthy boundary because of the way I was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you don't get to talk to me like that. So I'm walking away. For me, that was an incomplete boundary because I wasn't explaining what it was that needed to change on the other person's end in order to fulfill my boundary. So what it became was the end of discussions, the end of, growing and moving forward. So I'm utilizing that's not how I remember things. That's not my opinion. That's your opinion. And I'm infamous nowadays for the saying, you can agree with me, disagree with me, or educate me.
That's excellent.
Because I'm, one of the things that I'm famous for in my own head, because I'm an alcoholic and I'm an overthinker, is I don't know what I don't know. So maybe the reason why you're giving me pushback is because of something I'm not aware of. So please educate me. And also because of my codependency and alcoholic tendencies, I never know how close to the ledge I am. And some other people maybe can see that a little better than me. So I love this workshop. Thank you, John. Thank you, everybody who is here. There's no way that we can grow with each other if we're not with each other. So I appreciate that, John, and thank you for letting me close my door because my children will walk right through that door if it's open, and they have learned that when the door is closed, they are not to come in. And I did put a sign on the door, right, that said, in a meeting for me, please do not enter. That didn't work. So then I put a sign on the door that said, Mom may be naked, don't come in. That worked. Just saying.
I'm gonna try that.
So sometimes, I need to communicate a little bit better. So Mom may be naked. You don't want to see that. But thank you very much. I hope everybody has a wonderful next 24 hours and a wonderful end to the weekend. And Mad Monday's coming no matter what. Thanks, John.
Yeah, so that's the thing. You want to have an effective message in all areas of your life. An effective message is one where it's right there. Whether you say verbally or you write it down, there's no question as to what you mean.
So, John, I have a question. If I'm giving the same message and being very clear about my message for like the millionth time and the person is still not respecting that, how do you handle that?
They need to be out of your life.
Yeah, that's so easy.
Yeah.
Not so easy when it's your husband
My ex
or your partner.
Yeah.
Or your kids. That's the tough one for me. Sorry.
Yeah.
The kids, when they're older, you can kick them out.
Yeah.
Yeah. because the kids are going to grow up and have their own life. And if you're married, you have to put your spouse before your kids. I didn't understand that until, yeah, because the kids are going to grow up and have their own life. But yeah, if the person is not getting it, then when you do your 10th step, you're going to look at yourself. Is it something I'm doing wrong? And after you analyze it and say, well, I'm not really the problem here. And you need to get rid of the problem. And talk to people who have more, that you can give more details to, give more insight, so they can help you make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
You need to drop and look at bad habits. I think we have another workshop on emotional sobriety. I have not yet physically relapsed, but I've had many emotional relapses. I'm a human being. You want to get a handle on the emotional relapses, on the emotional sobriety before it becomes a physical relapse. Your sobriety comes first. Let's see if Eric is there. Eric in Dallas, are you there? We have some people here from the 7 o'clock meeting.
Just listening, please. Thank you. Enjoying it, though.
Okay, Eric, appreciate it. Sheila, someone mentioned that you had your hand up, Sheila, right?
Yeah, sure. Sheila, addict, alcoholic. I loved this workshop. It was awesome. I didn't know. I just found out about this group this week, and I've already been on it like 4 times. So I just really liked all of the resources that you gave, and I just really need practice at it, which I can do every day. Just, you know, setting my boundaries and sticking to them. My problem is I set a boundary, but then I don't stick to it. So I need to work on that. But yeah, I I just need to put into practice what you talked about, and I took a lot of notes. So thanks for everything, and thanks for letting me share.
Thank you. And Sheila is going to be joining our service team as well.
Oh, great. Keep seeing Sheila.
Okay, go ahead, Angela.
Yeah. Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Angela. I'm an alcoholic. I'm standing in the TSA check line. So I just wanted to say that I thought the workshop was super helpful. I really struggle with setting boundaries. I let people walk all over me most of the time. And I'm just I don't know. I took a lot out of your workshop, and I plan on re-listening to it later when I can focus a little more. Thank you, John.
Turn off video, audio. You can turn it back on whenever you want. You want to be consistent. You want to be consistent, guys. If you let them get away with it once, you might be dead. You might be done for. Oh, go ahead, Jerry. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say I really appreciate having the paperwork to follow along. That really works well, and it lets me relax and listen because I won't feel like I'm going to have to write everything down. And this is a little the same thing though about consistent. We were trying to give her dog her flea pill last night, and my husband was going to give up, and I'm like, you can't give up. If she wins, you lose forever. Well, there's so many examples in life. Thank you.
And just like kids, you have to train them before they even start crawling. You have to train them before they start crawling. And when they start crawling, you have to train them and be consistent. Yeah.
You have to train them to be trainable.
Yes. You guys haven't read the Four Agreements yet. It's a great book. Maybe two books. Might have done a second one. We are, what's the term he used? Domesticated. People need to be domesticated. And if you think about it, we are animals. You know, we have to be potty trained. We have to be taught. We have to be domesticated. Four Agreements. All right. Anything else? This used to, we used to have the 2-hour workshop, but since we started the 11:30 a.m. meeting, that's why we reduced it to 1 hour. We can cover a lot in 1 hour. Look at this one.
Do we do a workshop on step 4?
Well, I would suggest if we do one, let's do it on steps 4 and 5.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that. Think that would be great. That would be great. I'd like to be involved in that.
If you could, actually, I mean, we could do we could do a 1 hour one on steps 4 and 5, but the monthly one where we go through the 12 steps in 4 hours,
Yeah.
is basically the same thing.
Yeah.
We could also do one specifically on steps 4 and 5.
Just more deeper down, like dig deeper into
I think
it.
we're booked until May. If you look on the website, and then you can message me on Telegram or text me. We'll get it done. Yeah. Actually, you'll be running it.
I have to go, guys. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jerry.
It was good to see you, Jerry. Have a great day.
Thank you too. See you tomorrow.
Yeah, you won't. Yeah, we'll go over it on Nicole and
okay.
Probably starting in June.
Did you have someone do the 8:15 this morning?
I did it.
Oh, you did it. I didn't realize. I thought 2 people had volunteered to do it yesterday, so I thought it was covered.
Yeah, Laura and Alicia.
Yeah.
Volunteered.
So I did.
So I don't know if Alicia did the 7. And Alicia said Alicia was supposed to do the 7. And Laura was supposed to do the 8:15.
That's why I didn't even check in. I slept in this morning for a change, and if I had known, but I told Nellie, whatever she needs, I'm there for her. I know her schedule has changed. So.
Oh yeah. Okay, sure. Thank you. So yeah, if she needs, because you wanted, do you have an 8:15 slot?
No, so I wanted that. I like the Sunday morning one. But I can do it until Nellie's schedule maybe changes, because if she wants to do whatever she wants, that's fine.
Okay, I'll put you in for the 8:15 on Sundays. Fantastic. So you would have Thursday and Sunday then.
I have right now, I do Monday mornings at 7, because Adam and I switched. I was doing Wednesday morning at 7, but he switched.
No, I'm talking about the 8:15.
8:15, I do, the only 8:15 I would do is Sundays. Why do you have me?
Thursday for some reason. And this is another Nicole.
Yeah, it's a different Nicole then. It's not me. I wouldn't do an 8:15.
Yeah, during the week you're at work.
Yeah, I'm out. Yeah, I can do 7 a.m. during the week, but I can't do anything after 8:15 because I'm working.
Okay. All right. So I think we're good here.
Yeah. That was excellent.
Yeah, glad you guys came.